I'm Ian Gajczak. I'm a diploma, the workshop company of Farriers. And I'm from Edinburgh in Scotland.
You know, the very essence of the mental game is this. The only reason an event matters is because we make it matter.
Welcome to the Mullins Farrier podcast.
Every horse, whatever it was doing, had a season. Once their competition season finished, they took the shoes off, they chucked it out in the field with some other horses, and it had a 2, maybe 3 months period where it went and remembered what being a horse was all about.
Even in a cheaper area, your prices should be set by your skill level, by your experience. And some people might not feel that they're worth, as much as others. But if you're only charging $160 to shoe a horse, then the only way you're making money is on your trims.
The WCB was a way to make sure that you kept the trade alive. I think I'm a custodian of the trade, so it's like we have to keep it going.
It was hard, but you adapt and overcome, and that probably gets to me where I am now. It's problem solving, horseshoeing's problem solving, and back in the day it was problem solving how to be as strong as the older apprentices. So it's all about adapting and overcoming, which was good.
I know we learn every day, but you do have to put yourself outside the box and just continue to learn, which is why I was just trying to do my fellowship, because I still have apprentices, and if I stay at my AW, I'm stagnant.
Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope that 2023 has great things in store for all of you, and of the many resolutions you have probably made over the past few days, I hope that you stick to some of them. A little shopkeeping before we start. I hope to see all of you at the 2023 International Hoof Care Summit in Cincinnati, Ohio. That is January 24th to the 27th. At the Duke Energy Center and the Hyatt Regency. If all goes as planned, I'm hoping to have a booth there for the first time this year with some swag for sale to help support the podcast. So if you haven't already, go online to AmericanFarriers.com and click on the International Hoof Care Summit link and buy your tickets. And if you find yourself there, please stop by the booth and say hi. The summit is such a cool opportunity to learn from and network with so many good folks from our trade. I hope to see you there. Well, as you probably gathered from his introduction, today's guest is from across the pond in Scotland. He was one of the judges of the International at Stoneleigh this year. Over the weekend, I had several conversations with Ian, and he is, as you will hear, a very easygoing fellow and great to talk to. And despite some hardships that he's come across, his mantra of adapting and overcoming has helped him to carry on through this time. I found it quite inspirational and wanted to share his story with you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And what role did you play here at Stoneleigh this weekend?
I was very privileged to be one of the judges, which is great. A great honor and a privilege.
Yeah, so it was you and Dower that judged the main event.
Yep.
And how was that experience working with somebody else? I imagine sometimes you just never know who you're going to get and what that's going to be like.
I've judged quite a lot over my career, and it's always an unknown when you're judging with somebody. Obviously, I've known Dower for years on the competition circuit. So,
right.
Yeah, you're nervous, perhaps, but we had a chat, we looked at the first few feet together, and from the start, very clear that we're both on the same path. We're both horseshoers, both looking for good executed basics, so it was a real honour and privilege to judge with Dower. Really good fun. Good fun. He's a good laugh.
Yeah. Have you ever run into a situation where you have conflicting views with the judge that you're working with? Or I guess not very often you're actually working in pairs?
I've never run into conflicting situations. I've judged in pairs before, where, yes, people may be influenced by who they see and not what they see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which can happen,
Yeah.
But yeah, you discuss things, and then you always break down the work and remember that you're there to judge the work and, and how it's done and not the people. And quite often you'll have a chat and, see the basics and award it for what it's worth.
Right, yeah. Now, how did you get your start as a shoer?
It's an interesting story, to be honest, because back in school, in high school, secondary school, I think it was year 3, you do this, can't remember what the class is called, but basically you're asked what you want to do when you grow up. I was riding horses, ponies as a kid, and
Okay.
I went home and I was like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I woke up the following morning, I want to be a farrier, I want to be a blacksmith.
Really?
Completely random, out of the blue. Went back into school, did it. So then you do in the UK, do work experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a week's placement in your chosen thing. So the farrier that was shoeing my horses, I did a week with him. And then, followed it on. By the time I got to 16, I fortunately wrote a letter, or didn't even write a letter, made a phone call to Rory Robb, who was my ATF.
Oh, okay.
And he says, come on a trial. And a week later, I was signed up. So I was very, very fortunate to get in very easily and very quickly.
And very young.
Yeah, very young.
What were some of the challenges? I know when I started, I was at least an adult and mostly grown into my body, I think, by that point. But it must be tough as you're a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably, by the time I signed my apprenticeship agreement in February, my probation, I would be just turned 17. My birthday's February. And I was a beanpole.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was nothing of me. So physically, it was demanding. It was challenging, especially the volume of work we're doing. Rory had quite a big outfit. So it's hard. It was hard. But, you adapt and overcome, and
Right.
probably gets to me where I am now. It's problem solving. Horseshoeing's problem solving. And back in the day, it was problem solving how to be as strong as the older apprentices. So it's all about adapting and overcoming, which was good.
Right. Yeah. And the competition side of things, did you get into that right away? And how did you get into that?
Yeah, well, pretty much I was encouraged. I wouldn't say forced, but certainly encouraged
Strongly
to
encouraged.
do the competitions by Rory, my ATF, as part of the ongoing apprenticeship. In my first year, I went to the Scottish team trials just to tag along.
Okay.
Took part, got myself into the team, and
No
pretty
way.
much, So every year in my apprenticeship, I was in the Scottish Farrier team, and then did all the local shows, the Royal Highland Show, Balmoral, Dave Wilson's Forge when it was up and running, Ed Martin's competition when it was, when I was an apprentice. So did them all really, and it's been awesome.
So it's been a very big part of your life.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. Now, how do you balance that with actually? So you worked for your
Rory,
ATF,
yeah.
but then as you started it on your own, how did you balance the work with that? I guess working with Rory, at least you have somebody who's taking care of things. It's just they don't have the extra help of you when you're gone. But
Yeah, well, I was again fortunate. Rory had multiple lads working for him. As I qualified, he offered me to work on for another year on good money, so I couldn't turn it down. At the end of that year, he presented me an opportunity to become 50% partner of his business.
oh wow, okay,
Sort of jumped at the chance of that, which was great.
yeah,
And enjoyed that. The money was good, the work was good, the relationship between us was really good, was fantastic. But after a couple of years, I started to enjoy more detailed work, doing your sort of high-level event horses. I was getting requests from horses out with our current area to go and do and see and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that sort of side of work. So we sort of made the decision mutually, respectfully, that I sort of disappeared on my own. And that's where I am now, doing that sort of type of work that's
okay,
maybe a bit more thinking involved, but
yeah.
a lot more reward at the end of the day.
So you're probably less focused on numbers at that point,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
And are you traveling more because of that?
Traveling more, but obviously charging more for the travel, making sure it's worth, but not crazy mileage, but yes, sort of one horse here, two there, rather than,
Yeah.
where we were based before was just on the outskirts of Edinburgh. So you had a lot of sort of stalls, livery yards where mass volumes of horses, so
You just had to get through the list.
it was clogging. It was high level clogging, the quality of work was good, but it was tiresome and hard work. And for my mind, I just needed something that little bit more. So that's just where I sort of chased the different disciplines and, more involvement with clients, physios, vets, and more teamwork. I do like a teamwork approach. So it suited me, and there was a market there for it. And that's sort of where I ended up.
Yeah, it's funny how you do kind of find your people. I'm very much like you. I was never a numbers person I don't know if I don't move that fast, but I have to think through things.
Yep.
And I also have to be challenged.
Yeah.
So if it becomes monotonous and just,
It's not for you.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand why you would take that path. As a judge, so the first time you did that, I imagine that has to be pretty intimidating, where you go from competitor to the person judging the work. What was that experience like?
It was very nervous. I judged a couple smaller ones, but I was thrown in to judge the Royal Highland Show at quite a young age, or in my career, quite young. It was nerve-wracking. It was nervous. And I was doing it alongside Rory.
Okay.
So we were invited together. It was great.
It'd be nice to have the person you know as backup.
It was a massive stepping stone for me, because I was always nervous and self-conscious about my work and how well I was doing at home as well as competition. It was great to see that some of these peers from the years that I was judging make little mistakes.
Yeah.
And it was okay. They weren't perfect all the way through. And that sort of made me feel good about myself, how it was okay to make these little errors. You can't be perfect, but it's how it all comes together at the end of the class. So for the judging side of it, it was a massive learning curve for me in my own competitive career, really.
Right. Yeah. I guess if you're competing, you don't get to see everybody's work.
No.
And what the judges saw every time. So
The products at the end of the class, the finished foot, you don't know what journey it's been on. It might be nice, finished and polished, but trust me, it's not that way. It peaks and troughs, there's good and bad in it all. So to be a judge and to see behind the scenes of the individual journeys of, some of these well-renowned people, it was interesting.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's good.
And I imagine then competing after that, you had a whole other insight into.
Yeah, completely changed my format, how I compete, the way I constructed my classes, the way I went about things. It really did change it, and it was a big stepping stone forward for me in my competitive career.
Yeah. Now, there was something that you and Dower, in the first judges meeting, you both really drove the point home that there seems to be this thing now with sanding systems, and people want the glossiest, shiniest looking foot, which does look good to the eye, but you both were on the same page in that you can't do that to the compromise of the foot.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit more about that? That was kind of an interesting thing for me to hear.
It's an interesting thing. There's sort of two different sides, or not two different sides, but there is two sides to it, in the fact that I certainly recognize it a lot. Maybe not so much the ladies and gents that will compete in here this weekend, but certainly some of the other competitions. They're using these sanding systems on the feet and on the shoes to finish the feet or the shoes. But in my opinion, you're using these sanding things to enhance an already finished product.
Yeah.
You can see them using the sand boxes and everything like that to shine the shoes. But when the shoe's not flat and level, they're giving me a shiny product that's not flat and finished. And the same with the feet. They're sanding the feet before they've rasped them into a nice flowing shape. So there's straights and corners, and they're almost highline. So they're using it in the wrong manner. Sanding is there to enhance an already completed product, not to complete it, if that comes across well. And then the other aspect is when it's overdone, they sort of compromise the footwall, the integrity of it. They thin it down too much, overheat it, and you don't notice it there and then. But having shod some horses for one of the suppliers post-competition, years gone past, the feet are perhaps slightly compromised because they've been over-finished. So therefore, at the end of the day, even if we're competing or not, we're all about the welfare and integrity of the horse and horse's foot. So, even in that aspect, it needs to be looked after.
Right. Yeah, I saw you both really feel the clenches to make sure that they weren't protruding. And I guess, you sand enough off, the metal's not going to disappear as quickly as the hoof, right?
Yeah, the hoof will disappear quicker than the clench. So very quickly, if you overdo it, you get proud clenches, and then within a matter of hours, they just pop.
Yeah, right. Now, are there other aspects that you kind of see in the competition world that maybe it's things that have changed like that you might not see as a benefit, where maybe people are just trying to show off something, but in the end, they're not going to get as many marks as they think?
Again, the sanding of the shoes, you've sort of touched on the sanding of the feet, but the sanding of the shoes as well, it sort of ties in. If they sand the shoe before it's finished, then people are doing it more and more, of where they should be concentrating on the fit.
Right.
If it's shiny, it doesn't fit, it still doesn't fit. Whereas if it's a bit dull and fits. You're going to be rewarded for the fit, not for the shininess of the shoe. So, but apart from that, not really. Everything else is good, solid basics, just with much more accurate, finer details, which,
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I guess we should talk about some of the difficulties that you've been having as of late. It's a reality that a lot of farriers, we all have in the back of our mind. It could happen to any of us. And you've been going through some struggles that we talked about the other night. So could you tell me what's been going on with your back?
basically, about a year ago, sustained a bit of an injury, but mostly through wear and tear. I have a anteriolithiasis, which is basically a slight dislocation of my L5-S1 joint. So it's not a herniated disc or anything like that, and it's a very common injury in rugby players.
Oh, really?
They're forward, so it's a compressional injury. So rugby players in the scrums, compression, stuff like that. Obviously, us as farriers, carrying weight, perhaps not standing properly, we get compression in our lower back.
Right.
So yeah, it's been life-changing. I was in a bad way physically, and that impeached me mentally, really badly.
Yeah.
Which was a struggle. And unfortunately, the local health service didn't really assist in getting me seen quick enough. So I was very fortunate. I sold my house prior to this happening, so I had a little bit of funding. So I managed to get seen privately down in London. Had surgery, decompression surgery, which was life-changing. I was great. I crawled in, literally wetting myself. And within 2 hours of surgery, I was getting restrained from running down the corridors because it felt great. It was, it literally was life-changing.
Right.
Unfortunately, moving forward, sort of 6 months on, surgery itself's been a success, but trying to get back shoeing is proving a little bit difficult. I'm awaiting further MRI scans. There's been mention of possibly other surgeries such as fusion, but it's still not confirmed yet. We just have to wait and see. So it's tricky. It's tricky.
So what you had alluded to the other night was that if you're just walking about and doing your normal day-to-day, you're okay. But it's as soon as you start working under the horses, that's when it really starts.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So day-to-day life, I'm good.
It's been better, yeah.
Yeah, so as soon as you put the chaps on and bend over, and I think what's happening with myself, because it's not a typical herniated disc, and it's the actual sort of nerves and spinal cord, when I bend over, it's impinging on them, they become inflamed, which then gives me the radiating nerve pain, which gives you that sort of almost sciatica type feeling, although it's come down to my inner thighs, rather than the back of my thighs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And sort of through my groin and stuff like that. It's slightly different. But yeah, so when I'm not shoeing, I'm great, but I'm too passionate for the job to hang my chaps up. So I'm trying to adapt and overcome and do what I can to continue what I want to do.
Well, and we had talked about that. Like there were a few things that you have done that you've changed and other venues you've sort of gone and followed just to see if you could still earn a living doing what you love. So what were some of the changes that you made?
Well, one of the main changes, which is sort of off track, is I drive forestry harvesters as a part-time job. One of my good friends, he has a business, he has a machine. So that sort of helps with the financial situation, but adapting within the job. I've been fortunate to do some lecturing through the years, nothing of any major significance, but I enjoy teaching. So I've been trying to do some low-level clinics, both for farriers. I've even had sort of a Farrier vet physio sort of conference that I run.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And just, that sort of side of things. And I'm starting to do a few client evenings through requests, really, of teaching clients a bit more about the anatomy, hoof care, things like that. I've not gone down the road of doing them full time. I'm just playing around to see if there's anything sustainable.
Right. Yeah, and you don't know until you try.
That's the thing. Try it and, see how we go.
Well, and we had this conversation last night. It is mentally when you obviously did it from an even younger age than I. Like, it's been almost your entire life.
Yeah.
And it's obviously something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
The fact that all of a sudden the rug gets torn out from underneath you, that has got to be the biggest part of the struggle.
It's tough.
Yeah, because
very tough.
It's your identity, basically, right?
Yeah. The thing about our industry, as I think most farriers will agree, is it's not a job. It's not a business. It's a lifestyle. And when your lifestyle has to stop, it's tough.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. It's really tough. So to try and adapt and remain within the industry, as well as making a sustainable income from it it's challenging, and that's just why I'm sort of throwing some curveballs in here just to see if something takes off, to see if something is perhaps becomes sustainable to allow me to carry on doing what I'm passionate about doing.
Yeah. As you've been going through these struggles, have you had a support network of farriers that have kind of helped you out in that area?
Hey, I've been very fortunate. My brother, Jason, he's a farrier, so he helped me out, on sort of managing the horses. I had a couple local-ish lads help me out when I was off post-surgery, even pre-surgery when I was unable to bend over.
You were in a pretty bad way.
I was in a bad way. So they were young lads. Now that we're post-COVID, people are doing more horses, their own businesses took off. And it was always an agreement at the start. Their business is more important than my business to them, so therefore go as I see fit. So very fortunate. I had some, good farrier friends, always keep touching base with me, making sure I'm okay, I suppose for the mental side of things, and it's great.
Yeah.
Sadly, the area I'm in, just south of Edinburgh, it's great for business because we're not overrun with farriers.
Right.
So we can charge good money, etc., etc. But when it comes to the point of requiring help, there's not additional farriers looking for. So at the moment, it is a struggle to get extra support on the physical side of things because it's miles in all directions that there is not a shortage, but not surplus at the same time. So it's tough. So
yeah. That seems to be a worldwide problem.
Seems to be becoming more and more so, yeah. Even some of the areas that were perhaps overpopulated are starting to streamline a little bit more, which is, looking forward, could be a little bit scary if things don't change. But we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds.
Yeah, no kidding. And then adapt again.
Yeah.
This portion of the podcast is called the Stratum Tictorium. These are the short answer, surface stuff questions. But it's okay if the guest wants to go deeper. Enjoy. What's your favorite book?
Can't really mention that one here.
It's 50 Shades of Grey. I knew it. Okay. What's your favorite anvil?
It's a good question, actually. I don't know if I have the answer to that, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to be guarded with his answers today.
Yeah, I am. Unless somebody wants to sponsor me some new anvils.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, how about rounding hammer? What's the one you use the most?
The one I have at the moment is one of Stephen Bean's, and I've had it for years. Love it. Bit of a magpie. I've had lots of tools. I've got cupboards full.
The shiny stuff, doesn't it get you?
Oh, it's dreadful. So I've had lots. I've had John Atkinson hammers. Too many to mention, Jim Poor hammers, everything like that. Keen to try one of the Austinian hammers, if you're listening, Austin.
I highly recommend it. That's my most recent.
Yeah. They look nice. I've had a player one. They look really good. But yeah. I think at the moment, Stevens is a good hammer. Yeah, really like it.
Yeah, you're not the first person in the interviews I've done this week to say that. There have been quite a few people have said the same thing. What's your favorite make of rasp?
No comment.
Yeah. It's a controversial thing, isn't it? And they change.
Heller, mustard Heller, green tang.
Yeah, at times.
Yeah. And I understand the process and their problems, and they're just trying to make them too sharp and stuff like that. But yeah, I think as an over-rounder, yeah. But probably my favourite one, not so much for trimming, but certainly more for the competition, was the old Safe Edge finishing rasp.
Oh, okay.
The double-sided finishing rasp was phenomenal. I remember I used to use it along with my shoeing, and you could resharpen them for 6 months, just to put that, your everyday clenching. It was great. So yeah, that's probably my favourite. But yeah, the green tang at the moment, when you can get a good one, is probably the best you can get.
Right. What's the ideal number of horses to shoe all around one day for you?
4. Try not to do many than 4.
And what disciplines do you usually do? Is it just
everything?
Okay, it's everything.
Yeah, I do everything. So my first love is event horses, because you've got multidisciplines in there. But I do everything from driving Shetland ponies, Icelandic horses, dressage, show jumping, eventing, endurance. I do a lot of barefoot ridden horses as well.
Okay.
I've got a lot of endurance horses that, through choice, like to remain barefoot. So I have that side of it to do as well, which keeps everything current and interesting.
Yeah. Variety's good.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah. Do you have a dream Farrier rig?
Yeah, I do. Just one of the big American pickups with one of the stone mill bodies on it, and a trailer to suit,
They are nice.
Yeah, they are nice. And I actually did look at getting one shipped over a few years ago, but I think the import tax was just as expensive as it was to buy the trailer itself. But
Yep, you're probably not wrong.
Yeah, but I must admit, I've got an N&J aluminium linens body on the back of my Ford Ranger pickup, and I love it. It's purpose built, fit for purpose, and I bought it here last year. The Focus last year, and it's fantastic. It's brilliant, really good, really good.
What's your favorite section of steel to work with?
Inchbeth 3. Yeah.
And what shoe sizes do you normally have to keep the most of, like stock of?
Generally, my shoe choice is the Mustad Libero, and I'm probably between a size 1 and a size 3 is the main size. Yeah.
What's your favorite pastime after work?
Making horseshoes.
Yeah.
No, I have working Cocker Spaniels. I enjoy winter country pursuits, so shooting and stuff like so. So do both my children. So we quite often go clay pigeon shooting, or in the winter time when it's in season, things like that. So it's completely different, and it's nice. And the people I'm involved with are the great bunch of people as well. So it's a step away from it, and it's good fun.
Yeah. It's good to have diversified interests, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite method of soothing aches and pains when they are soothable?
When they are soothable?
Yeah.
Liquidized grapes in the red form.
That's a unique answer for sure.
Yeah. One of the best things I found is a hot tub.
Yeah.
I had not the big one. I just had an inflatable hot tub, or still do, and jump in there, usually with a glass of liquidized red grapes.
Just
and
combine all the therapies.
Yeah, sit in there for 45 minutes with the bubbles on, come out like a new man. It's great. Just unfortunate electricity prices now have not
it's expensive therapy.
It certainly is.
What's your favorite drink? I'm assuming red wine,
Red
right?
wine.
Favorite type of music?
I'm an Eminem fan, I must admit.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Have you seen him live?
No, unfortunately.
I have not either. That is on my bucket list.
I wish I had the opportunity. No, I do like his music.
Yeah. And then if you were to be stuck in a shop with somebody for a month under lockdown, who would you want it to be?
Danny Bennett standing there with his hands raised.
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
That's a good question. I'm not sure I could stand my own company for a month in a shop, alone a single individual. So I'm not sure I could.
It'd be a tough one.
Yeah, it would be a tough one. It would be a tough one.
Oh, one I forgot to ask you. If you've got sort of a mystery lameness, a horse has gone kind of footy, and you don't have a diagnosis, do you have a package, like a favorite package that you'll try?
Yeah, I think to get to that stage, I rely on teamwork a lot. So I make sure I discuss things with the owners a lot. I think a lot of our lameness issues, we're all busy coming up with treatments, whereas we need to come up with managements. And to come up with management, we need to find a little bit of history. And quite often the foot's are blamed, but the lameness is originally elsewhere. But for me, I've always used pads, and the current range of pads on the market these days are fantastic. So usually by adding a little bit more comfort and integrity to the foot to acquire a stronger hoof capsule usually resolves quite a lot of things. So for me, pads and impression material is my sort of go-to. Fixes a multitude of issues.
Gotcha. And the last question, what would you have been if not a farrier?
I don't know. Because I decided at such a young age, 14, 13,
no kidding, yeah.
I would be a lot more flexible and a lot less pain.
yeah, right. Well, thank you very much for doing this.
No,
this has been amazing. Glad I got you in the hallway before you spent all your money on those shiny objects.
No, fantastic. Thank you very much.